What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs, 4-0, and have they've looked fantastic, both sides of the basketball. Said after the Dallas game, I wouldn't be surprised if they start the season 7-0. Obviously, there'll probably be a hiccup here and there along the way, but you just look at their schedule, talked about it going into the season. They just have a very favorable schedule, right? They have a schedule that you look at and go like, they might be able to rattle off a bunch of wins, right? So you look at, again, the Spurs. They handled Dallas. Dallas was kind of the question mark. Obviously, Dallas hasn't been off to a great start, but Dallas was kind of the team that's like, hey, they match up well. They have probably the best pieces to kind of try to slow down Victor Wembanyama as much as possible. And the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama just ran through them, right? They had no answer for Victor Wembanyama. And Wemby has just been on an absolute tear. The guy is looking and playing like he's the best player in the world. It's ridiculous. But after that, it was like they got the Pelicans, the Nets, right? The Raptors, the Heat, right? Those are four teams to kind of round out October that they could beat like very easily, right? Obviously any given night, any team can get hot or, you just have an off night or whatever. But you're at home, right? Against the Nets, the Raptors, and then the Heat. Next game is against the Miami Heat the day before Halloween on Thursday. So it was like, okay, if you can rattle off these wins, start the season undefeated going into, 5-0 going into November. It's like, okay, well, what do you have coming up in November? It's where things start to get a little tougher. Right? You got the Phoenix Suns, which again, I think is a very winnable, a team that I just don't have much expectations for, that I think the Spurs can absolutely handle business with. Then you go into the Lakers, who are just decimated by injuries right now. We'll see if Luka comes back, because if Luka comes back for that can make that game very interesting. But if they end up, having the pieces that they're missing, then that could be, again, another win. So now you're talking, you could be getting 7-0, and then you get into Houston, which Houston could be tough, right? Houston's probably the one other team that you look at and go, they're probably best equipped to, again, you're not going to stop Wemby, but to try to slow him down. They just have a ton of length, a ton of size, ton of athleticism where they can kind of try to swarm him and just make things difficult. So Houston, I think, is going to be a very big test for this team. Then you got the Pelicans and the Bulls, two teams, although the Bulls have been very good. But the Pelicans and the Bulls are two teams that I think you can beat again. And all of a sudden you look up, through your first 10 games, you could be 9-1, right? Obviously, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but again, I talked about this going into the season, and so far the Spurs have handled business, and they've done it very dominating, right? You look at these wins, 125-92. Then they had the Pelicans overtime, but 121-16. That was a lot, that one was the stressful one. But then the Nets are the worst team in basketball, 118-107. And then even the Raptors beat 121-103. So you're getting it done on both sides of the basketball. You got to look at it like this. It took overtime for the Pelicans to score 116. Outside of that, you're holding teams to roughly 103 points a game. You're playing the defensive side, which is something that the Spurs, Brian Wright even said they wanted to have this defensive identity. They wanted to have this team that, yes, they could score the basketball, but also be able to defend at a high level. You're putting up points. You're averaging, basically 120 points a game and holding teams to 103. You're going to win a lot of games that way. And, oh yeah, by the way, the San Antonio Spurs don't have De'Aaron Fox, which could swing things either way, right? The Spurs are playing really good. I'm not saying that they're better without De'Aaron Fox or that they will be, but we don't have a ton of sample size. And he's a guy that's going to be high usage and on ball. And you saw, look, the Spurs traded for him and didn't really give up anything. And they actually got worse. Now, context is important, right? Guys are dealing with injuries. They're trying to build that connection and that relationship, which is why it's disappointing and a bit frustrating that we didn't get him really for training camp and stuff, because, even if he was out, at least you kind of got the reps. At least you kind of got some work in with each other, where now he's going to be kind of thrusted in. I don't know if you start him immediately, right? If he comes back and the Spurs, let's say, because they can take their time with De'Aaron Fox, right? That was the thing. It's like if the Spurs started 0-4, it's like you probably need De'Aaron Fox, right? You got to get him out immediately. But like if the Spurs kind of continue to rattle off games and they're 9-1 through 10 games or 8-2 through 10 games or something like that and sitting atop the conference and stuff. Now, one, you don't have to rush Fox back. You want to make sure he gets as healthy and right as possible. But two, it's like, do you just throw him into the starting unit and kind of mess everything up, right? Or do you kind of have him come off the bench, kind of lean him? At some point, you're going to have to move him into the starting unit. But do you bring him off the bench, kind of let him ease into it, kind of get his footing, build some chemistry, right? And then, so if things are clunky, things are a little awkward, then, it's just like, hey man, like we're working through it, but we need to, it's the Western Conference. We can't lose games, drop games. We need to stay ahead and, we'll continue to work and progress towards you getting in the starting unit, right? And then if it works, great, then you can just inject him in the starting unit, right? Like that would kind of be the approach that I'd like to see the Spurs come in. Obviously, again, if they start, if this was just a hot start and they start to cool down or something like that, then yeah, then throw Fox in and kind of, get through your lumps and try to work it out. So there's a lot that still is kind of left to be seen, but the Spurs have been fantastic. Wemby's playing like the best player in all of basketball on both sides of the basketball. I mean, the guy has been an absolute monster. Like he's doing things that you're just like, dude, is this guy 5'5"? Like how is he moving this way? How is he operating in this manner? And just, in general, I mean, you look at Stephon Castle, right, and what he's doing on both sides of basketball, being that player with Dylan Harper is filling up the stat sheets and showing that he is more than just a scorer and making plays, and grabbing boards and being kind of that James Harden type of player that many believed he could be, and kind of operating in that 6-man role as that playmaker, as that scorer at times, kind of giving that versatility. Guys across the board are buying in on both sides of the basketball. Mitch Johnson has them credit where credit is due. I said, right? Like I have my concerns about Mitch Johnson from what we saw last season, but again, context is important. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I want to give him a shot here because last year was just weird, right? Like, Pop goes down. It's like, okay, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? You get through like half the season and then it's like, okay, he's not coming back. And then now you're the full-time head coach. But at that point, you don't want to like change everything in the middle of the season. And then you go and make the De'Aaron Fox trade. But now you have this like weirdness where it's like you promised Chris Paul he could start all season. So now you have these like clunky lineups and rotations and stuff like that. And it's just not what you wanted, not what you expected. And then Wemby goes down. And then it's like, okay, well then De'Aaron Fox might as well just go have his surgery and get himself right. And then he goes down. It's just, there was a lot. Talked about this training camp, this preseason, going into the regular season. This will be the first year that you can kind of start to build and establish what you want to build and establish, kind of make that transition into it being Mitch Johnson's team. And look, they're 4-0, all right, and they look very legit, and it's great to see. But again, a lot of season left. Great start. Got to keep building the momentum. You have a lot of winnable games left. Sure, will they drop a game here and there? Absolutely, it happens, but this is a great start, and you still have a very favorable schedule to where you can kind of get ahead. Because you will, every team has those, especially a young team that doesn't have crazy experience, they're going to have stretches and stuff. You're going to have a stretch where it's like, man, we've lost 4 out of our last 5, right? Like we need to kind of get things back on track. Like that's how seasons work, especially for young teams. So if you can rattle off as much or as many wins as possible leading into some of those stretches, then you can kind of weather that and stay a playoff team and then get in the playoffs. And then once you're there, who knows? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.